Report submitted by Senior Captain Mitth'raw'nuruodo of a Chiss Expansionary Defense Fleet to General Bakif regarding the polity known as the Farsight Enclaves. My apologies for the delay in submitting this report. Gathering reliable intelligence concerning the species known as the Tau proved considerably more difficult than anticipated. Through several unplanned detours and, ultimately, a controlled encounter with one of our fleets, I now consider the available evidence sufficient for a preliminary assessment. As the defense hierarchy is already aware, approximately 6 standards months ago, our outmost patrols, including Picket Force 2, then under my command, detected an anomalous disturbance beyond our explored frontier. The readings were recorded shortly after the battle with Vagari and our separation from outbound flight. Had I not been badly wounded from our skirmish, I would have diverted to investigate the anomaly personally. My orders and wounds, however, forced one course of action. I returned to the Ascendancy and stood judgment for my actions concerning outbound flight and the potential threat it represented to our people. I also went through the recovery process. In that time, reports began reaching Sila, describing the sudden appearance of an unfamiliar interstellar power within the chaos. Initial rumors placed this new state not far from the Vag Combine. More significant than its arrival, however, was the news that the Vag Combine had entered into friendly relations with the newcomers. Historically, the Vag have remained deliberately neutral toward neighboring powers, avoiding permanent alliances through persistent indecision. That this long-established pattern changed immediately following contact with the new arrivals attracted sufficient attention that I was ordered to investigate. The journey required slightly over 1 month. Upon reaching Vag homeworld of Crimea, we immediately observed a merchant convoy unlike any previously encountered. The formation was centered around a vessel approximately 5.3 kilometers in length. It was accompanied by 2 starships measuring roughly 4 kilometers each, and 6 additional vessels comparable to or marginally larger than our own heavy cruisers and men of war. Subsequent investigation suggests the smallest of these vessels are classified by the newcomers as escorts. This assessment is concerning. A civilization that considers vessels of such displacement suitable for escort duty likely possesses a naval doctrine and industrial capacity far exceeding initial expectations. Even more notable is the apparent classification of the 4-kilometer vessels as light cruisers, while the flagship is designated simply as a cruiser. Assuming their terminology reflects consistent naval standards, it is reasonable to conclude that vessels equivalent to battleships substantially exceed 6 kilometers in length. Such estimates remain speculative but should not be dismissed. After approximately 5 days of passive observation beyond sensor range, combined with the interception of unsecured communications, we established the identity of a new polity. They identify themselves simply as the Enclaves, or, more commonly, the Farsight Enclaves. Intercepted broadcasts consistently claim that the Enclaves originate from another galaxy, and that their arrival within the chaos was not intentional, but the result of an anomalous phenomenon referred to as either a warp storm or simply the storm. Ordinarily, I would dismiss such statements as deliberate misinformation. In this instance, however, the evidence suggests otherwise. A civilization possessing this level of military capability and technological sophistication could not reasonably have remained undetected within our region of the galaxy. Even accounting for the chaos and its navigational difficulties, we would almost certainly possess centuries of scattered intelligence concerning such a power had it originated locally. The anomalous readings previously detected by our patrols further support the possibility that the Enclaves arrived through means presently unknown to us. At the present, I have been unable to determine the exact nature of a warp storm. Reliable information concerning the phenomenon is exceedingly scarce, while the Tau themselves appear careful to avoid discussing it through channels accessible to outside interception. Fortunately, considerably more information has been gathered regarding the internal organization of their society. The dominant species of the Enclaves are the Tau. They appear divided into 4 distinct castes, each possessing unique physical characteristics and highly specialized societal functions. The water caste serves as diplomats, merchants, and administrators. Public broadcasts repeatedly depict them negotiating with representatives of a VAC combine and overseeing commercial exchanges. The speed with which they secured the trust and, ultimately, the friendship of a people as politically cautious as the VAC suggest an exceptional aptitude for negotiation. Whether this ability is purely cultural or possesses a biological component remains undetermined. The Earth caste consists of engineers, builders, physicians, and industrial specialists. They are consistently observed constructing infrastructure capable of supporting Tau logistical operations. Physically, they are notably shorter and more robust than the members of the water caste, suggesting deliberate biological specialization for labor requiring endurance and strength. The air caste crews the Enclave fleet and operates its aerospace assets. Curiously, despite extensive observation, we have yet to obtain a verified visual record of a single member of this caste. Intercepted communications describe them as preferring to remain aboard their vessels. I currently hypothesize that they possess physiological adaptations favoring prolonged life in microgravity, making standard planetary conditions uncomfortable. An alternative explanation is that generations spent within sterile starship environments have produced unusually fragile immune systems. Neither theory can presently be confirmed. The Fire caste forms the military arm of a Tau society. Available evidence indicates a clear division of responsibility. The Fire caste conducts planetary warfare, while the Air caste retains exclusive responsibility for naval combat. This separation differs considerably from Chiss military organization and may represent one of the defining characteristics of a Tau strategic doctrine. More significantly, the Fire caste appears to dominate the political hierarchy of the Enclaves. All available evidence indicates that the Enclaves function as a military dictatorship. They are ruled by a military council known as the Eight, made out of heroes of the Enclaves. The leader of the Eight and the Enclaves bears the formal designation Chasseur Viorla Chauvin Cais Montier, though he is more commonly known as Commander Farsight or Oshova. The state itself derives its name from him. Information regarding this individual remains limited. Public Tau sources portray him as a celebrated military hero who separated from a larger interstellar empire before establishing an independent regime beyond its borders. Whether this narrative is accurate or merely the official history presented to outsiders remains to be determined. The explanation presented by the Enclave sources is as follows. The Tau Empire was governed by a previously unmentioned fifth caste known as the Ethereals. According to the Enclave accounts, these individuals exercised near total political and ideological control over Tau society, manipulating the other castes through deception and carefully maintained myths. I am presently unable to determine the accuracy of these claims. What can be established with reasonable confidence is that the Enclaves were once part of a significantly larger interstellar state known as the Tau Empire, and that the Ethereals occupied its highest positions of authority. Whether the Enclave portrayal of their former rulers is objectively accurate or merely the justification for a successful secession remains undetermined. Considerably more reliable is the evidence regarding the differences between the two governments. The Empire appears to have enforced an exceptionally rigid caste structure prohibiting relationship and reproduction between members of different castes. The Enclaves, by contrast, impose notably fewer such restrictions. More significant from a strategic perspective are the differences in foreign policy. According to the Enclave's diplomats, the Tau Empire pursued aggressive territorial expansion through a succession of campaigns referred to as the Spheres of Expansion. During these operations, numerous civilizations were incorporated into the empire through diplomacy, military conquest, or combination of the two. Regardless of the method employed, ultimate authority appears to have remained with the ethereal caste. The Enclaves exhibit a markedly different approach. While they actively seek contact with neighboring civilizations, I have thus far found no evidence that they systematically compel those civilizations to join their state. They maintained alliances with several non-Tau species, yet these appear limited in both number and political influence, serving primarily in auxiliary military formations. This distinction is favorable to the ascendancy. Based upon currently available evidence, I assess the Enclaves present no immediate threat to our borders. That assessment should not, however, be mistaken for the absence of danger. After the merchant convoy departed Vag territory, we shadowed its course in the hope of identifying the location of the Enclave-controlled space. During one of our routine stops between hyperspace transitions, allowing our Skywalker sufficient time to recover, we emerged within a previously unremarkable system designated ZD-137F in our records. There we encountered an ongoing naval engagement. The same merchant formation previously observed above Crimea was engaged by a fleet of unfamiliar warships. Sensor recordings of these vessels are attached to this report. They remained among the most perplexing designs I have encountered. Individually, they differed considerably in their size and configuration, yet all shared one defining characteristic. They appeared crudely assembled from irregular sections of salvaged material, with little apparent regard for structural integrity, mass distribution, or even basic engineering principles. Our scans only deepened the mystery. By every conventional assessment, many of these vessels should have suffered catastrophic structural failure under the stresses generated by their own propulsion systems. Several appear to rely upon hull sections that would not have survived sustained acceleration, while others exhibited load-bearing members seemingly incapable of supporting the surrounding superstructure. Yet they remained operational. I have, at present, no satisfactory explanation for this contradiction. Such construction should have produced vessels incapable of sustained combat. Yet, by all accounts, the vessels were able to fight. By the time of our arrival, the hostile fleet, later identified by the Tau as the Orcs, was already in fighting retreat. The Enclaves had lost 2 escort-class vessels during the engagement. In exchange, they destroyed approximately twice that number of Orc ships, while driving from the system a warship measuring approximately 4 kilometers in length, together with 2 additional cruiser-sized vessels. The battle demonstrated several noteworthy characteristics of Tau naval doctrine. Their warships employed a carefully coordinated combination of kinetic, plasma, and ion weaponry. Initial volleys consistently targeted propulsion systems, reducing enemy mobility, before large formations of strike craft systematically dismantled exposed weapons emplacements. Only after the enemy had been rendered effectively incapable of effective resistance did the Tau employ concentrated missile salvos to eliminate the remaining vessels. The sequence was executed with remarkable precision and without apparent deviation. I do not believe this engagement represented an improvised response to an unfamiliar adversary. On the contrary, every stage of the battle suggested a doctrine refined through repeated experience. Weapon selection, target prioritization, and the timing of successive attacks indicate an opponent whose capabilities are well understood by the Enclaves. I therefore assess it as highly probable that they have fought the Orcs on numerous previous occasions and adapted their naval doctrine accordingly. Their objective appeared not to be rapid destruction of the enemy, but the systematic removal of its ability to continue fighting before delivering the final blow. Unfortunately, our arrival placed us near the outer limit of the Tau's sensor coverage. We were detected almost immediately. The Enclave fleet instructed us to remain stationary and refrain from leaving the system until further notice. I elected to comply. Continued observation of both Tau naval procedures and the unidentified hostile force offered greater strategic value than attempting immediate withdrawal. A complete tactical analysis of the engagement has been appended to this report. I recommend that it receive detailed review by the defense hierarchy. Following the conclusion of the battle, we were contacted by the commander of a merchant convoy. She identified herself as Koro Tinekla Aloch, translated as Ice Storm. She elected to communicate through audio alone, which is why, despite direct contact, we still lack the image of a member of the aircast. Upon establishing communication, I identified both myself and the purpose of my mission, to evaluate the Farsight Enclaves and determine whether they represented a potential threat to the Chiss ascendancy. This disclosure was intentional. My observations indicate that the ruling Firecast places considerable value upon directness. Attempting to conceal the true purpose of our presence would likely have damaged future negotiations once our intentions became apparent. Candor, in this instance, represented the lower strategic risk. The Tau appeared neither surprised nor offended by my admission. On the contrary, they seem to have anticipated such a mission. According to Commander Ice Storm, The Enclaves were already aware of a Chiss ascendancy through information gathered from neighboring powers. Given our reputation for caution and border security, our decision to investigate their arrival was considered both logical and expected. During the subsequent discussion, the commander identified the hostile force encountered within the system as the Orcs. She described them as an aggressively expansionist, invasive species incapable of meaningful negotiation and motivated almost exclusively by warfare. According to her account, elements of the Orc civilization were transported alongside the Enclaves during the same anomalous event that brought both into our galaxy. The principal objective of the Enclave fleet is therefore not territorial expansion, but the establishment of communications with neighboring systems, allowing sighting of Orc activity to be reported and eliminated before they can grow into larger incursions. I requested additional intelligence regarding both the Orcs and the circumstances of their arrival. That request was politely declined. Commander Ice Storm stated that such information would be disclosed only to the ruling families of a Chiss ascendancy and the defense hierarchy through official diplomatic channels. She further informed me that the Enclaves intended to dispatch a diplomatic mission to the ascendancy. Based upon their projected travel time, its arrival should be expected within approximately 1 standard month. At the commander's request, I agreed to return immediately and deliver this information. Following additional discussion, she also provided a navigational chart indicating the approximate extent of the Enclave-controlled territory. If authentic, the territory presented under their control appears marginally smaller than that of a Chiss ascendancy. I cannot, however, verify the chart's accuracy. Should it prove genuine, it presents a significant strategic inconsistency. The Enclaves possess warships whose size exceeds our own by several factors, yet they appear to command a territory no larger than our own. Sustaining construction on such a scale would ordinarily require an economy maintained in a near-permanent state of military mobilization, with industrial capacity prioritized to fleet production over civilian development. Such an assessment, however, conflicts with other observations. The Enclaves have demonstrated a marked willingness to establish commercial relations with neighboring powers, most notably the VAC Combine. Intercepted communications further suggests that similar diplomatic and economic initiatives are underway elsewhere along their frontier. This behavior is more consistent with a state seeking economic expansion than one devoting the overwhelming majority of its resources to war. Several explanations remain possible. The navigational chart may be deliberately inaccurate. Alternatively, the Enclaves may possess an industrial base whose efficiency substantially exceeds any previously encountered by the Ascendancy. If the latter is correct, the implications exceed beyond their military capabilities alone. It would indicate a level of manufacturing capacity and logistical sophistication without known equivalent within this region of a galaxy, including the Ascendancy. At my prompting, Commander Ice Storm made it equally clear that until formal diplomatic relations have been established, no Chiss vessel, and particularly no military vessel, will be permitted to enter Enclave space without authorization. She further indicated that any incursion would be treated as a hostile act. Under those circumstances, continuing the mission would have provided little strategic value, while introducing unnecessary risk. I therefore terminated the reconnaissance operation and returned to the Ascendancy. Assessment. Based upon currently available evidence, I recommend that the Ascendancy receive a forthcoming Enclave diplomatic mission with due seriousness. The Enclaves have, thus far, demonstrated no indication of hostile intent toward our people. Their military posture appears predominantly defensive, while their foreign policy favors voluntary cooperation over territorial absorption. More importantly, they possess direct operational experience against threats previously unknown to us. The engagement at ZD-137F demonstrated capabilities possessed by both the Orcs and the Enclaves that substantially exceed the assumptions upon which current expansionary defense fleet planning is based. I consider it probable that the Orcs represent only one of several hostile powers displaced into our galaxy by the same anomalous phenomenon. Should that assessment prove correct, intelligence provided by the Enclaves may prove considerably more valuable than any military assistance they could directly offer. One final observation merits consideration. The Enclaves maintain merchant vessels exceeding 5 kilometers in length, despite controlling territory no larger than that of a Chiss Ascendancy. More significantly, throughout the duration of my investigation, we did not encounter a single vessel the Tau themselves classified as a dedicated warship. This presents an apparent contradiction. Either the vessels observed represent only a fraction of the Enclave fleet, or their civilian shipping has been deliberately designed to operate in contested space. Both possibilities point toward the same conclusion. The Enclaves originate from an environment where constant military readiness is not an exception, but a necessity. The Orcs alone may justify such preparations, but I do not believe they do. Throughout my discussions with Commander Icewind, the Tau consistently referred to the Orcs as one of the dangers displaced by the warp storm, never the danger. While they declined to elaborate, their caution in discussing the subject suggests the existence of additional hostile powers whose capabilities may equal or exceed those already observed. If the Enclaves have indeed been transported from another galaxy, it is reasonable to consider that they were not the only civilization affected by the phenomenon. The Ascendancy, therefore, faces two unknowns: the Enclaves themselves and whatever may have arrived alongside them. Of these, I assess the latter to be the greater concern. For that reason, I recommend that the forthcoming diplomatic mission be regarded not merely as an opportunity to establish relations with a newly arrived power, but as the most efficient means presently available to acquire intelligence regarding threats, for which the Expansionary Defense Fleet possesses neither experience nor preparation. Should my assessment prove correct, cooperation with the Enclaves may significantly reduce the strategic uncertainty now confronting the Ascendancy. Senior Captain Mitth'raw'nuruodo, Expansionary Defense Fleet.